How did you get started in racing?
Pretty much between my grandfather and my dad, who have been racing forever. And then when I was little, my dad was still racing, and I still remember him running his pro stock. I don't remember the other divisions that he ran in because I was either not born yet or just don't remember. But I remember that. And then when I was a little older, he was fiddling around with go karts again. He used to run go karts when he was younger, like earlier than my age currently. um, and I was at the go kart track and I was like, Dad, I want to race a go kart. And then he was like, Oh, okay. So then I got a go kart and then I started racing, and then my brother got one a couple year later or so, maybe that same year. And then from go-karts, I ran those for multiple years. I was maybe 10 or so. I ran those for a while, and then I got into mini cups when mini cups were still at Seekonk. I never ran them at Seekonk, but I ran them in New Hampshire, primarily 106 Race Park, but it's now closed, sadly. Um, then I went to Hudson and White Mountain. I did a couple of shows there. Did pretty good, but it was a lot of fun. My brother and I were both wearing mini cups. But yeah, I kind of just been doing that growing up. And then after the mini cups, I got into the sport fours, sharing the ride with my brother, and then he moved up and I stayed here because I have college to go to in the meantime. I don't have time to do full season, sadly. But yeah, I used to have like a little battery operated go-kart that I'd drive around the driveway when I was like 4, according to home videos. I don't remember any of this, but very early on.
So, given the typical thing young people are doing, you certainly had an unconventional hobby compared to most people at that age. But how fun was it to just go and run Route 106 or go up and run Hudson or White Mountain? I mean, those are fairly far away racetracks, and you're able to go and win races, and must have been just quite the experience in learning a lot of that stuff that some people don't learn much later in their career. You already had that figured out.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I did do when I was younger, I did dance. I took dance classes and stuff, and actually one of the times I went to the track, I literally came right from my dance practice and went up to New Hampshire and went to the racetrack. Um, but yeah, we New Hampshire is pretty uh close with us, I guess. We snowmobile a lot as well in the winter, so pretty much we just live the second half of our life in New Hampshire where we'll just snowmobile in the winter and race in the summer, and that was kind of the norm for quite a while till we came back to Seekonk. Um, but yeah, it was definitely different. But yeah, I'd say most of the stuff that I learned, like you mentioned, most people learn later in their careers. It's pretty much all from go-karts. Honestly, I spent countless hours there. It was right in Tiverton at Quick Raceway. I don't think it's really running anymore, but no, it was a lot of fun. I ran with loads of guys and stuff. It was always great, and it was a very tough little track. You gotta had to figure out really how to learn how to pass back then. So it was a lot of fun though. And then going to different tracks, like I ran the Woodstock Fair before that closed down in the go-karts. I was battling with my brother. My brother ended up taking the victory. But just going to a bunch of different tracks, it really helps you figure out how to improve and how to get better every week. So it's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, in fact, if I remember correctly, might have been when you had a sport for. I think you made a trip up to Star a few years ago and won there too.
I did, yes, yes. I kind of lost track. I think in total, I ran Quick, Woodstock Fair, 106, Hudson, White Mountain, Star, and Seekonk. I think that's all of them, all in different divisions. of varying difficulties, I guess, at varying levels.
Well, you mentioned not being able to commit to full time racing. Um, what are your aspirations once you're through with college? Is there a goal to move up to Saturday racing, or how would you like to see your career advance?
Um, I'm pretty content where I am. I mean, I know that my life is just gonna get more and more busy with school, and once I get out of school, my career and stuff. So it's a great hobby, but between just me and my brother and the crew that we have, like my dad runs the entire show. He's amazing, does like he's everything. I wouldn't not neither me or my brother would be here without him. Um, but we only have so much time. So if my brother stays in the Saturday divisions and I also go to Saturday divisions, we just probably wouldn't be able to do it. So I'm probably just gonna stay to my Fridays and enjoy my time and try to get better and better with my division as much as I can. Potentially win a championship if I can ever finish a season, but I think this is my 3rd year now, and I've yet to finish the season. Um, but yeah, Friday divisions are really my home right now, and who knows what will happen, but as of right now, I don't really have any major plans for the future, I guess you could say.
Well, speaking of the short term, it's been quite the battle between you and Mikey Lafort. At a glance, you guys are both in the top three to top five every week I can remember in recent memory. Even tied in the points entering last week, and now you're ahead leading the points again. We only have a few races left. So to your point, you're in a position to capitalize, but a lot of things have to go right.
Yeah, definitely. For starters, it would have to rain the last 3 weeks because I am not sure I'll be able to make it because I will be off at school. So as much as I am in a championship battle, um, I'm not entirely, I guess you could say. So really what I'm rooting for today is to try to do the best I can with what I have and oh, I'm sorry about my dog. Do the best I can with what I have and potentially come out with a triple crown win instead.
But you mentioned being in the division a few years. How good has that been to watch yourself progress? You know, you got that first win, and there's the emotion of I've won a race at Seekonk, and then you mentioned not being able to really commit to a full season, but now it's to the point you're competing for podiums and top fives every week where you don't have an advantage of starting in a good position. You have to pass a lot of cars to get a top five finish. So it's not easy to be up front on a consistent basis, but you get to that point where you're one of the three best drivers in the division as far as the finishes are going.
Pretty much all I can say to that is it's so much fun. um, I I just I love it, and the more races I get, the more experience you get, the more you get used to the people that you're around, the more you get used to your car, the more like it's definitely been a journey, especially like this division specifically is a front wheel drive division on treaded tires, um, completely different from. It's not like I raced a larger car before. That was pretty much the one of the larger obstacles as well. Like I went from go karts and mini cubs where I could feel the car differently than I can in the Sport Force. So trying to learn that was a major learning curve. Um, but then since I have figured that out, I think I'm doing all right. And it's just a lot of fun. I mean, you learn every week, and then you just got to take what you get from it and a lot of fun doing it.
You've mentioned a couple of times this focus on your um, academics. How difficult is it between having a job, having to go to school, and then finding the time to devote to racing? Because ultimately, all three are in some way a priority, but you've got to make them all work simultaneously. to make this happen?
It's definitely a balance, but the fact that the season is in the summer does help. So, yeah, this year in particular, I I was doing like a summer program through school, and then also a full-time job, and then also racing. It was quite the balance, but sometimes it's more of a balance than others. Sometimes it's a little bit more priorities, but you kind of just it's life. You kind of try to find everything that you like to do and fit it all in your schedule, and hopefully it turns out all right.
Let me see if my memory is serving me correctly. Were you ever formerly a teammate of AJ Manuel, or do you guys just happen to have similar cars and sponsors, and I'm associating you two when you weren't teammates?
Yeah, I think you could say that AJ and I are definitely teammates, um, pretty much on any normal scale. Um, he's actually a major part of our crew with Richie's car in the late model. He helps us every week. He's our stagger man to air pressure man, tie like he does everything with my dad. Pretty much my AJ was building his car with his father, and then my dad ended up helping out too. He's we kind of, I guess you could say, grew up together in some kind of not way. um, so he was our neighbor of our garage growing up. So my dad and his dad were best friends. And then when AJ started to get into racing, then it kind of just brought it all back together. Um, but yeah, we're definitely teammates, and he's a major part of our crew on the Saturday night divisions. He comes and supports me every week that he isn't able to come on Fridays, and it's yes, we're definitely teammates.
You look at how fast you've been winning a Triple Crown championship, how fast he was for, seemed like for a while, he was the car to beat there when he was running full time. Um, so I just always feel like sometimes when people aren't in necessarily visible role that they used to be, you don't want to forget them either. But you mentioned driving a front wheel drive car. Um, and of course, you're driving, I think it's a Mitsubishi, if I got my cars correctly. So is there anything different with the Mitsubishi on why that might be better for this division? Because I don't see too many of them out there. Besides, I think maybe I've seen three of them. Roughly, there's not too many of them out there.
Yeah, Jaden in the 04s, his is a Mitsubishi, and I believe the 41 or 49 MA is also a Mitsubishi. Yeah, there's not many of us out there. It was pretty much just the car we found. There's pluses and minuses to any car that you get. Um, because I know Tyler Almeida, he pretty much swears by Saturns. He's like a full Saturn guy. I believe AJ's is an Acura. It kind of just there's pluses and minuses to everything. What you have to do, like how much camber you can get out of each of them, or I don't know how much adjustment there is weight wise. I know mine's a slightly heavier car. It really kind of just depends, and there's pluses and minuses to all of them.
I've noticed there's the bright green and white paint scheme that you have on the car. Is there any inspiration on where that came from? It's certainly easy to find the car on the track as an observer.
Yeah, that's definitely from our sponsors. So if you notice that Josh Hedges, who races on Saturdays, he has similar paint scheme and always has. One of our major sponsors is Jeremy Hedges from Hedges Excavating. He was our primary sponsor on the truck as well when Richie was running that. So to kind of just go with that theme, all of our cars have since been black, green, and white. But yeah, it's pretty much Hedges Excavating sponsorship. My cars didn't always used to be black and green, and neither were my brothers.
You mentioned your brother. There can sometimes be sibling rivalry where two siblings don't get along, but I don't seem to sense that tension between um, both of you. And it seems like there's a lot of support between you. And how has it just been watching your brother's career? I mean, you get the chance to watch him from when he started in some way up to all the success where he's doing great in late models. So there's going to be a lot of pride in watching his career move along too.
Oh yes, beyond. um, I've watched my brother from go-kart days where we used to battle all the time, and oh, it's awesome. I have this like a little picture that I like looking at where he's, I don't know, maybe 8 or less. I think he started when he was like 7 maybe. Um, trying to think of timelines. Where he's on the little flag stand and he's, oh my gosh, when he was a kid, he used to play with go-kart cars all the time. Any childhood picture you have of him has a little car in his hand. It's adorable. I don't mean to embarrass him, but yeah, since then I've watched him in go-karts and mini cubs, and I've always battled with him all the time. And now that he's uh full-time Saturday division, he's always on iRacing and spending countless hours on that. He's done amazing in any car division he's hopped into. He's just pretty it suits him well. Um, I remember the first time we went in the Sport Fours, and the first time we took the Sport Fours out. The first time he went out in that car, we told him, "Take it easy, take it easy. We just got a new car. We don't want to put it in the wall first lap." So he goes out, sails the thing into one, and has to save it and avoid hitting the wall coming out of the corner. And we're like, "Oh boy." So then the truck comes around. We tell him, "Richie, take it slow. We just got this truck. It's a bigger motor now. It's not a Sport 4 motor anymore." What does he do again? The same exact thing. Sails it in, has to save it. Oh my gosh. By the time the late model came around, he was a little bit better in controlling his excitement with the initial start of the race. I mean, practice round. Um, but yeah, no, it suits him very well. He loves it. It's pretty much his life. But yeah, it is. We don't really have a sibling rivalry, I guess you could say. Um, it's something we can both connect with. We're both into racing, and it's kind of the whole family is. So it works out well.
Now, speaking of your family, I didn't get the chance to watch your grandfather race, and of course, I got to see your dad race in the pro stocks. But how cool is that to have three generations all involved in the same sport? Over the course of many years for that to happen, and just how influential have your grandfather and your dad been in shaping your racing career?
They have been everything, is I guess the short answer to that. I mean, God, I wish it would have been so cool to watch my grandfather or my dad race. Like, uh, because the year that my dad, I don't know, one of the more successful years, so I'm told, and so I guess history is like 2003 when my dad won a bunch of pro stack races all in a row. And I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." And it's just me and a little what, 4-year-old standing in victory lane. I don't remember any of it. Um, but yeah, no, having all of that experience behind both of them, and um, I don't know, having mentors like that, I guess you could say, is definitely helpful in trying to become a better driver yourself. Like, I don't know. You always have debriefs after your race or something. If you've messed up, oh, you could have done a little bit better on this restart. You could have learned this. If you've known this before, you could have done this during that race. With the amount of races behind all of us, there's always experiences. Oh, you gotta be on your toes on the restart. You gotta make those moves quick because once it spreads out, you're not gonna have a lot of time. You'll have to pick them off one by one. Um, so having, I don't know, the ability to talk to them and ask them, "Hey, I don't know, did this happen to you before?" or something like that. Is it's pretty cool. And then I don't know, it's always great to listen to the stories that of when they used to race and how racing was back then. Um, it's definitely cool.
Is there any favorite driver you had growing up, or any people that you admired in racing that have you followed over the through the years?
Like NASCAR, you were asking? Because I mean, my dad. Yeah. Um, but yeah, definitely. I don't know. I kind of look at driving styles and I kind of just, I don't know. I don't really have anyone particular other than, I don't know, my dad, my brother, everybody in my little world, AJ. um, but yeah. Oh, yes, definitely. One of our major sponsors, Rich from Helger's South Coast Power Equipment, he's awesome. Oh my gosh, I love watching little Richie race. He's doing great. He's going around around all around New England and beyond. Oh, it's awesome. But yeah, he's been a major sponsor to us. He's awesome. Um, I'm gonna sound like Mikey LaForte, but donate life. um, yeah, he's a major sponsor. Really helps us out a lot. And then Bonham, my uncle, he has been with us since mini cup years, and he's always been a major support and passionate about racing. He's always been there for us. Ryan from Quick Oil has helped us out as well. He kind of helps us out with AJ too. Um, always is there. And then, as I mentioned before, Jeremy from Hedges South Coast Power Equipment. Um, everybody's here and helps us out. And then everybody who's actually there, I can't, I don't know, give a big enough shout out to my dad, my grandpa, my brother, AJ, Landry, Doug, Tyler, and everybody who comes out to watch us race, and my grandmother, my meme, my grandfather. I usually end up driving his car, his little standard, to the track every week. It's just always a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, I mean, Ashley who's coming, Landry's been there every week too, as much as he can. Ryan who comes too. I mean, anybody from my family who comes. It's always a whole lot of fun when everybody's able to be there. Um, but yeah, makes the racing even that much better.
And where are you currently going to school, and what's your major?
I am going to school to Worcester Polytech, WPI, for biomedical engineering. So it's a major commitment outside of racing, which is why there's been instances where I've had to miss some weekends of racing for it. But it was actually pretty great. When I won my Triple Crown in 2019, that was my first weekend at college. So I came home for that weekend to run the race. I went back with the trophy, and it was definitely a topic to talk about at college.
So the natural question is, for someone that doesn't know what that subject is, what are you studying, and ultimately, what is your career path that you're looking to achieve?
The basics of it is like, I guess, the world of prosthetics. That's not entirely the world I'm looking to go into. I'm looking to branch out a little bit more into different areas of it, but I essentially call it mechanical engineering to interact with the body and make sure that the body actually likes the stuff that you're putting in it, like different bionic arms or something. um, but it could be anything from a pacemaker to a bone plate to prosthetics, um, to stents. It ranges astronomically. But I'm looking into essentially how I can incorporate, I guess you could say, mechanical engineering into the body and make sure it actually does what it's supposed to do and doesn't, and actually helps the body rather than hurts it.
Well, given that answer, um, what drew you to study that and have an interest in working so thoroughly in that particular field?
Um, between a couple high school courses I took in anatomy, and absolutely find the I don't know, how the body works beyond amazing and fascinating. Just to, I don't know, everything I've learned on the race car and how that all works so intricately. Um, it's pretty cool. I can try to take everything that I've learned from the background of working in a garage, I guess, to incorporate with the body, which I find beyond fascinating. But I just wouldn't want to be a doctor at all. So I might as well try to make stuff that they can use to better those who need it.
With health sciences and medical, it seems like it's exponentially growing so much. Even the last handful of years, who knows what the next decade or so is going to look like as things continue to advance. It must be really cool to kind of be at your age, potentially at the forefront of all this with the knowledge on how to innovate, and it's all recent information, and you get to take this as your starting point for the rest of your career, kind of at the ground floor. This seems pretty exciting long term for you.
Yeah, I'm really excited. It's an ever evolving field, and I'm looking forward to being a part of it.
When you bring back the trophy and you have your circle of friends and people that are maybe in the same class, whatever the case might be, how much of it is a thing that you raised? Do they think this is really interesting? Do they say, "Oh, that's really cool. You get to do that. I'm stuck, in my dorm studying all weekend." I mean, how cool is this relative to the other stuff that's the average college person there does?
It's very, very much depends on the other person. I remember going through high school, a lot of people didn't even knew I raced. Um, versus now, I mean, the first week I showed up, the first weekend I came back to my dorm, I had a Triple Crown trophy in my hand. So everyone was like, "Oh, what is this that you do here?" Um, so I mean, it really much just depends because I'm surrounded by a bunch of people who, I don't know, build robots that I don't know, do little games all the time. Like some of my best friends are going for robotics engineering. So they kind of just know what I'm talking about and at a different level and can understand it in that manner. But most of the actual, I don't know, racing aspects as like what goes on at the track itself in comparison to in the garage, that's a little less uniform and understood. So I kind of just, it's not super easy to explain the implications of everything that happens at the track. Um, but they find it interesting.